Welcome to the Fabric Podcast, where we explore company culture and how it scales as a company grows. Brought to you by the team at The Receptionist, a bootstrapped, Denver-based software company. Each episode of Fabric will set out to uncover unique and uncommon answers to the question, how do companies of any size create a culture and core values that employees actually live out? On this episode of the Fabric Podcast, we're joined by three of our newer team members. We have Alex Sassano, Customer Experience Representative, Andee Thompson, Business Development Representative, and James Jordan, Creative Manager. The three of them share with us about what the hiring process is like here at The Receptionist. From screening questions to phone interviews, simulations, video interviews, and then coming in and meeting with the team. And throughout it all, our culture and values are guiding us as a team to decide who is the right fit. And the team members who ultimately join us really realize how much we live out these values and how excited they are to become members of the team. This episode is fantastic if you have hopes of working at The Receptionist, but also is going to give great insight into how to nail any interview or hiring process that you go through. Stick around. Well, a big welcome to some of our newest hires back to the Fabric Podcast. So before we get into how to nail your interview, remind our listeners, what's your role? Basically who you are and what are you up to here at the company. So Andee, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a business development representative. So I am the first line of defense on the sales team. I talk to people that are interested in learning more about the receptionist. And then if they seem like a good fit, then I introduce them to our account executives.
Fantastic. And Alex, what about you? What are you up to here at the Receptionist?
Yeah, so I am a customer experience representative. I was hired in December of 2019 and I started in January. And my role here is really to support our customers and ensure that they have an awesome experience using our software.
Nice. And James, what about you? What's your position here?
I'm creative manager here. My first day was February 12th, and I produce creative marketing content that supports our brand and products.
Nice. Well, our team is growing regularly, and we are so excited to have some of our newest hires on today to talk about how they obviously nailed the job interview because they are here in these roles, and that this won't just be about how to get hired here at The Receptionist, but how to hire any job interview that you're on. So we're going to talk about the different parts of our process as we hire and interview people. So Alex, start off. Can you tell us a little bit about the screening questions that we use with our potential candidates?
Yeah, of course. So the screening questions are really the first step in applying to a career here at The Receptionist. You know, on the website, they say that they're optional, but I really encourage anyone who's serious about joining the team to answer them thoughtfully. So, for example, one of the screening questions asks, which one of our core values is most meaningful to you and why? And that really allows the candidate to show us that they've done the research, that they resonate with our values. And then another question will ask more of a situation-based question, depending on which role someone is applying for.
Yeah, and culture and values are so important that if someone just skips over that or isn't really in line, that's good information for us right at the beginning if this person's going to be a fit, and is also great information for them. So Andee, how did you approach these questions when you applied for your position?
Yeah, so I really appreciated right off the bat that they were talking about fabric, because what that showed me was that culture is really important right from the beginning. So I made sure to answer the questions thoughtfully. I chose authenticity, being authentic as the most important value for me. And then I just try to make sure that I was myself too. I know sometimes in the interview process, we want to make sure to give the best answer, but I think it's also really important to show who you are when you're answering those questions.
Definitely. So we have these screening questions. We ask our applicants to fill them out, and then we start to do some filtering. And then it's time to move into a phone interview. So James, what's the phone interview like in this process?
Well, for me, it was kind of two parts. The first was an informational call with Alexa. And we had a nice conversation about the company and the role. And we chatted about my interests and goals. And then she set expectations for me around the interview process. And then as a second part of that, which happened a little over a week later, there was a 90-minute video interview. And for me, that was with our director of marketing, Michael. And it was something I was pretty nervous about, but he has a calm, easygoing demeanor and really put me at ease. And despite it being a video call, felt a good vibe. So we connected on the creative process, on trying new things, even if we didn't know exactly how they'd work. And I really enjoyed the frank, open discussion that we had.
Yeah. And you touch on can be a phone interview, but also video. And I think some people love that video because it allows you to connect with someone face to face. And then other people start to panic a little bit when they think, oh no, I might have to actually see someone now. And this is starting to feel real. And that when they're in that part, they're getting excited. So to the phone part, Alex, who did you have your call with? And what was your approach to really nailing the phone part of the job that you really wanted?
Yeah, so my initial phone interview was with Amanda from Scalability Solutions. And we basically went over my resume and she asked me questions about my experience. But I was also able to gather more information about the role that I had applied for and the receptionist as a company. So as far as, approaching nailing the job that I really wanted, I was really excited to have the interview and I wasn't afraid to let my enthusiasm show. I also made sure that before the interview, I had really done my research on the company. And that allowed me to ask more thoughtful questions when that time came.
Yeah. As you said, we work with Scalability Solutions, who we love, and they really help make sure that we are informing our candidates about the company and what to expect throughout the process and doing some of the initial kind of review of the candidates who will move further along in our process. And so, Andee, James touched on the video interview. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that's different in terms of maybe preparing? Did you prepare differently for a phone versus video interview?
Yes, definitely. I think the way that you prepare for that, or it was different for me because not only did I want to do my research and come to the interview with thoughtful questions, but I also wanted to be really mindful of, honestly, how Tom and I vibed and to see if we got along. And so that was really cool to walk into, to sit in on that interview and really feel each other's energy. So that's different because you want to know how you're going to get along with your supervisor in that way. And the video interview really gives you the opportunity to see how you're going to get along and see how you guys could work together in the future.
Right. And the video interview. Oh, go ahead, James.
No, I'm sorry. I just want to ask, what was it like interviewing with Tom? Because he's such a high energy guy. Was that overwhelming at all?
No, I think we have a similar energy level, though I do understand why you would ask that question. I think that interview went really, really long and we ended up laughing quite a bit, but it was fun and high energy. That's for sure.
Yeah. And these video interviews tend to be further along in the process. So I can imagine, you're more invested, right? Like, oh, I've gotten through these pieces. I know more about the company. I'm more excited. I really want to do well. And then, as you said, it's with the person who would then be your superior, your boss. And so you want to do well. You want to impress them. But like you said, to start with, Andee, you also have to be authentic. Now, several of you have already said you did a lot of research in terms of preparing. I'm curious, what research did you do to help you get really prepared, learn about the company, and feel really good? Alex, what research did you do?
I listened to a lot of podcasts. During my phone interview with Amanda, towards the end, she said, "Hey, I would really encourage you to listen to, our podcast that we have about company culture, our culture club." The leadership podcast. And I took that very much to heart and I listened to so many podcasts, but I felt really great going into, the video interview with Jessica and the team interview, because I felt like I had a really good understanding of what this company and what the team was about.
Yeah. Andee, what did you do for research?
So like Alex said, I listened to a ton of podcasts. The podcast that actually stood out most to me was that sales and marketing can work well together. And that meant a lot to me. I did a lot of stalking on people's LinkedIn profiles, to be honest.
Good. We like that honesty.
And I did a lot of research on customer reviews of our product, of the Receptionist product, because I wanted to make sure that people were happy. And then I could sell something that made people happy. And was really excited to see what people were saying about us.
Yeah, I love that. James, what about you? What research happened for you?
Oh man, I feel like I almost learned too much because, especially going into the video interview, I like to know as much as possible about the person I'm going to be interviewing with. I like to ask questions about, their time at university or whatever it is that they're doing. So I get that sort of dossier going. But with Michael, he's on the side a bit of a well he's like a fitness model and um, and and spokesperson for his own fitness coaching brand. So he has a website with these pictures of just him being just ripped. And I felt like I should not know this much. but,
Went a
but,
little too
but
far down the rabbit hole, and now everyone is Googling to find
a little too
this.
far. Yeah, exactly. But you know what? Hats off to him. I think it's important for every leader to have a stellar six pack. So that's where my research went. But no, it is important. I'm impressed that that Andee did all the research with the reading reviews on the product. That's something I didn't do. But yeah, I really think it was important to listen to podcasts and really show that we understood what the company was about.
Yeah, well, I love that. It shows that there's all different ways to research. And again, if someone's applying to the receptionist, fantastic hints, but these are important steps in any interview process that you're going through. So one of the things that we do that is maybe not entirely unique, but is something that we learned about through Scalability Solutions is doing a simulation as part of our interview. And this is giving you, the candidate, a chance to experience what the job would be like. And then it's allowing us, the team members at the receptionist, to really see how you would handle the role, how you would handle maybe some of the challenges that come up, and you get to see what it's like to work here. So, James, what was your simulation experience like?
It was also a two-part thing, both at the same time. I mean, it was first a 30-minute phone call with Lila, who was there to answer any questions for me that I might have, but then also to walk me through a day working at the receptionist. So she actually asked me to close my eyes and imagine walking into the building at Industry and saying hi to the people at the front desk, and then walking by everyone's dogs because we're a dog-friendly company and dogs are awesome. And she said, you walk into the marketing team and you say hi to everyone there. You take a seat at your desk, and you see that you have a message from Michael. And I thought this was really cool. I mean, I'm getting this opportunity to just sort of zone out and feel what it might be like to be on premises and doing the job. So I've got my eyes closed and I'm imagining all of this. And I realized that Lila had stopped talking at this point. And I'm sitting there in silence. And I felt like we were sitting there in silence for a very, very long time. And I didn't know if I was being tested or if this was part of a meditation or they just wanted to see how I dealt with feeling uncomfortable. But I was. And I finally said, is there something I'm supposed to be doing right now? And Lila said, oh, are you done? And I said, done with what? I've been sitting here with my eyes closed this whole time. And she just started cracking up. And apparently when she said, I see a message from Michael, I was supposed to be looking at my computer at that point. I was supposed to have opened my eyes by that point and seen that I had an email from Michael talking that laid out what the next steps were going to be for the project. So it was
so a little miscommunication. So the setup was so great that you were just still in it, and then
I was in it.
And then once you opened your eyes and things were clarified, then you get to kind of step into this email from Michael and kind of experiencing what something would be like, which is the sort of the bulk then of the simulation. You just spent lots of time in the setup. We like that.
Right.
Andee, what stands out to you about your simulation experience?
James, it's funny you said that because I actually forgot that Lila walked me through a very similar experience. Like, close your eyes, like you're sitting down at your computer. It's funny, I forgot about that. But what stood out to me was, like, I really appreciated that we did a simulation because I was able to get a feel for what the day-to-day would be like for this job. And what stood out to me was, I think they were trying to make sure that it was really important that I understood, like, as a BDR in this role, phone's going to be ringing. I'm going to be getting emails. I'm going to be getting chats. There's going to be a lot going on at once. So it actually made me really excited because I was like, we're busy. And this is good news for me because I like to be busy and I like to work hard. But I also felt like it meant a lot that they were trying to prepare me for not only what the volume of leads would look like, but that multitasking and staying organized is super important.
Absolutely. And that's a great example of how it allows you to see what the experience would be like, but it also allows us to see how you handle those pieces of the job, because that is very much like what it will be like when you're in the role. So, Alex, if someone has a simulation as part of their job hiring process, how can someone do well in that piece of the interview?
Yeah. So what I remember most about my simulation with Lila was before we started, she said, have fun. And I was so nervous. And I just remember being like, okay, like, sure, I'll try. But I did. I had a lot of fun and I just enjoyed myself. And, I think that really is the most important thing. And that is, our first value is fun. So someone has a simulation, the biggest advice that I could give is have fun, have a good time, and be authentic, be yourself. And that's really the most important thing you can do.
Absolutely. And as you said, fun is one of our values. And if you're going into a simulation that's for maybe a more straight-laced company, maybe you don't want to be showing that you're having as much fun. But for us, that really is important. So as we've highlighted, there's a number of steps in our hiring process, and they're all there for a reason. And we want to make sure that the person coming in feels really good and is excited, and we want to find the best candidate for the position. So once you got through all of those steps and you kind of had that final conversation, the one that was like, okay, I think this job is mine and I have to answer these, final questions or clarify these final pieces. Let's talk about what that last piece was like. James, what was that like for you?
The I was actually really excited about the group interviews specifically because I felt like through the simulation I'd gotten to show an actual tangible work product, and so I knew they knew what to expect from me. And so now it was just about does the rubber meet the road? It has everything that I've learned about the company so far proven out when I see how the team itself interacts with each other. And getting to sit in those group interviews and just feel the genuine interaction between people really, really meant a lot for me and got me even more excited about what it would be like to be working day to day with everyone.
Yeah, Alex, what was it like for you to get into those final interviews and those final steps and get really close to the job that ultimately became yours, but at the time you weren't quite sure?
For me, my experience was interesting because I actually flew into Denver for the final interview from Michigan. So it was even more exciting. I was coming cross country. I was ready. And I felt really good about it because, it was daunting when I learned how extensive the interview process would be after I got off that first call with Amanda. She said, you'll have a video interview with Jessica, and then there's a simulation and the team interview. And it seemed like a lot. And I didn't know if emotionally, how taxing that would be. But by the time I got to the group interview, I felt really good. I felt really prepared. And I knew that I really wanted the job.
Awesome. And Andee, what about you going into those final pieces of the process? What was that like for you?
Well, I was really nervous, but I felt very at peace and excited. Like I felt like I don't want to say I knew what I was walking into, but everyone had done such a great job at staying consistent with what the culture felt like. I wasn't surprised when I sat down in front of everyone and I felt that again. It meant a lot to me and really showed me how seriously the receptionist takes culture by almost everyone in the company being part of the interview process. So it was really great to see Tom in person and meet the sales team, but then also meet the other team members. And they asked some really, really great questions. And I could tell that them knowing that I could do the job was important, but they really wanted to know who I was as well.
Yeah. So you just mentioned it, and we've talked already a lot on the episode about culture and fit. So Andee, can you share just a little bit more about with us now that you're on the other side of things? How does the team then determine that someone is the right fit? We've talked all up until now about what your process was like getting hired, but now you're on the team. So what do we do once someone has gone through those steps? How do we figure out if someone is going to be the right fit?
Yeah, so we've divided up the interview process with the team into smaller groups. So like half of the company will be in one part of the interview and half of the company will be in the other. And then we set aside time at the end of the interview for all of us to come together and read through the notes we've taken, collaborate, answer questions, and just really talk and have it. And it's an open forum where everyone can share their thoughts about how they feel about the person, if they're a right fit for the role and if they're a right fit for the company as well.
And Alex, what did you learn about our culture as you went through this process?
Yeah, I mean, really, it goes back to how seriously the receptionist takes its core values that was echoed, throughout every interview. It was very apparent in the team interview. We talked about, what I had mentioned earlier, that first question is which value is most resonates with you and why. We talked about that, but it was also very apparent to see how tight knit the team is. We were laughing in the interview, and it was a good time, and it was really reassuring to me to see that, this is the real deal. Everyone is very genuine and truly loves their job and this company.
Yeah. And James, just to kind of wrap us up, why do you think it's so important that someone finds the company that is the right fit? It's not just the job, but it's the culture and it's the people. Why is that so important?
Yeah, well, it's pretty simply that you want to feel good about the people you work with, and you want to feel supported, and you want to feel like you can be a contributing member of that group. And to me, it was especially important. My process from submitting an application to finally getting an offer letter was 2 months long. So the fact that the company wasn't rushing to fill a spot, they were taking their time to make sure they got the right people. And I think that says a world of good things about the quality of the team we can build.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for coming in and sharing what your experience has been like leading up to being in the position and giving our listeners some insight into what they might go through if they want to apply for a position here at the Receptionist, but also just some great insight on getting hired at a company that you want to be at and that is a good fit for you. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
James, Andee, and Alex gave so much great information about how to nail your job hunt, no matter whether it's here at the Receptionist or for another company. If you'd like to know about the careers we're hiring for, or if you're interested in a visitor management system, we do offer a 2-week free trial, no credit card required. Check out that and our careers page at thereceptionist.com.